I feel like people forget that you can try something and it not work out.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Even in trying something and it not working out, you're still learning something.
Yeah. There's something that I even learned in college. There's like L is for learn, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, in Texas we say, oh, they took a L. You know,
right.
like they took a loss,
Yeah.
failure. But then it's like L is for learn. So I started to like shift my mind. Like, did I really fail, or did I just learn what I didn't like? I just want to continue to make things that make people be like, what the heck? Like, I want to make things that make you stop scrolling.
I'm just trying to be somebody. So make a way, make a way, make a way. I'm just trying to be somebody.
Hello, and welcome to the first episode of the Trying to Be Somebody video podcast. I'm Hallease, endeavoring to persevere as always. For this inaugural episode, I wanted to interview someone who's been an inspiration to me, Temi Coker. He's a multi-disciplinary artist currently based in Dallas, Texas, and he has this incredibly unique look and feel to his work that he's developed and cultivated over the past decade. I actually first met Temi at a Sony Kondo event a few years back. He was doing a class there and I was attending, and I just kind of came up to him and talked to him, and we kind of like hit it off and always stayed in touch. He had just finished his Adobe Creative residency, and so he was in this very interesting point in his career. Fun fact about Temi, he is actually why my production company is called StumbleWell. We were texting back and forth about everything we were going through in the creative process and talking about how stumbling through everything is kind of the name of the game and what it is. And I was the one that said, yo, I'm currently rebranding my company. I think I'm going to call my company StumbleWell because of this conversation, you know? And so that's where the motto for my production company came from. Life's a journey. You're going to stumble through it. Stumble well with us. So I owe Temi a lot. He's a really cool dude. And I'm really just excited for y'all to listen/see the conversation that we had about finding your unique style. Because in the beginning as an artist, it can be really hard to kind of figure out how to build your own unique look and style. And I feel like having Temi on to explain how he got to where he is will be a really beneficial conversation for y'all. So this is the inaugural episode of the Trying to Be Somebody podcast. The goal of the podcast is to mostly interview BIPOC people, mostly BIPOC. We're open to everything, but mostly BIPOC. So we can give some inspiration to people who are trying to have creative careers.
Okay.
All right.
Nice.
And something that I've seen come up a lot with different artists who are at different points in their career, whatever it may be, is that they struggle with trying to figure out how to like develop their own style.
Right.
And I figured having you on the podcast would be great because you have such a very, I'm looking at his back wall right now. You have such a very unique style, but I know it didn't just happen.
Right.
You know, it took a lot of time, a lot of work. And so I wanted to talk with you about how you developed it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think I need to go back through memory lane as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
We've got time.
Yeah,
it's a
we
podcast.
got time. Let's make it happen.
So to go back down memory lane a little bit, when did you first, I guess, start manipulating your photos? That's probably the best way.
I would say in college, I think probably like maybe 2012. So I started photography 2011, right? But then it was 2012 when I learned how to do like the double exposure thing where you can have like, well, was it even double exposure? Yeah, double exposure first, but then there was something that I learned where I could have the same picture of myself, like have 6 Temis in one picture.
Yeah.
And that's, you put your camera up on a tripod and you don't move it, and you take a shot and you move. And then in Photoshop, you mess around with masks. So that's kind of how I started this whole like manipulating photos. It started with just manipulating photos and ended up with like doing manipulation, but now adding like graphic and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then you were manipulating photos, and then you eventually started getting into more like graphical elements.
Yeah.
Can you talk to me about like how you started doing that? Like what prevailed you to do that? Because I noticed like I'll see a lot of your work, the main subject will be like black and white, and then you'll put all of these different elements on top of them.
Yeah.
Like how did you start to discover that side?
Yeah. I kind of realized that I loved color. And of course, I'm Nigerian. We're very vibrant people. I'm from the Yoruba culture, and our Ashoke, Ashoebi, everything is like colorful. And I realized if I make an image black and white, well, it first started when I was like taking pictures. I love black and white because it pushed me to like try to convey a message through the picture without the distraction of colors.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Because then now if your photo is black and white, the only thing that's like really important is like the subject that you're looking at. And that was kind of what started that. So I love black and white a lot. I even remember on my Instagram feed, there was like a month where it was just black and white photos.
Yeah.
You know, and I was just like pushing myself to try to tell a story or focus on important things in my photographs. And when it came to like design, I think it just made sense because, again, you're not distracted by color. But now I'm able to add like different colorful elements in there. So it gives me a good space to add a good range of color.
Yeah.
Right? Because like right now, if I take a picture of you and it's not black and white, well, you have on like white, yellow, blue, different hues of blues. It would be hard for me to like try to add a red and a purple and all of that because it won't look together.
Yeah.
So I like to be in control of my color. So I make it black. I made the images black and white so I can do that.
That's fat. Okay, so you were actually trying to like, simplify the people in there so that way you could slap on whatever else you wanted to slap on.
Yeah, because if not, it will put me like in the box. I'll have to like right now, if I was to make a poster with what you have on, I can only mess with pastel colors.
Yeah.
But I love vibrancy, so I was like, let me just make it black and white and just put the colors I want to put in there.
Dang.
So,
okay. Are there any things that you started to do while you were developing yours that you think others can try to do to try to figure out what their voice, their style is?
Yeah, I think do research especially of people in the thing that you're doing. So if you're doing like graphic design, look up different types of graphic designers that are doing different types of graphic design, right? You know, in graphic design, you have people who are good with typography, some who are good with illustration, some who are good with like mixing graphic elements on photographs.
Yeah.
And you have some who are like good at making flyers. So it's like study all of those people, figure out like what you can take from each of them and put it all together. You know, I think like the idea of someone being original, I don't know anymore. I don't know. I think now it's like no one's really original. We just haven't gotten. Someone said we just haven't gotten caught. Someone said like originality at this point in time is undetected plagiarism. Right?
That's high key true.
You know what I'm saying? Like we all get something from somewhere and some artist. It's just that sometimes that artist might not be a well-known person, so a lot of us don't know. You only know, you know? And so and then you get on social media and try to act like you came up with this style.
Yeah.
Like I've seen it before, a collage artist. Well, he started a style, right? And another person used a style that was similar to his. But that person came to him and was like, yo, why you biting on my style? He was like, first of all, I don't know who you are. Secondly, I'm inspired by this artist.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And this artist is like someone from like the 1900s.
Yeah. Okay.
And so it's like, and the guy never responded back. Right? Because he finally figured out who he was inspired by.
Yeah.
You know? So I think to figure out your style, I think just like find people who you admire. I think it's okay to like mimic what they're doing.
Oh, definitely.
You know, because I think you get better with that. But don't mimic it and go post it online and make it look like you came up with it.
I mean, I know for me, like something that I started doing, like on the video side of things, I am a big Wes Anderson fan.
Nice.
Wes Anderson was like one of the first directors I really started like admiring their work. Mm-hmm. And so when I would get stuck making vlogs, for example, I would think, okay, I'm just going to go out and capture a lot of stuff in the style of Wes Anderson. You know?
That's good.
And then as I would be doing that, inevitably a story would come out of it.
Right.
And the finished video doesn't look like Wes Anderson because Wes Anderson's Wes Anderson.
Right.
But I have now figured out another aspect of what makes a Hallease video
exactly
a Hallease video.
Yeah. You find your style through experimenting because you realize what you like and what you don't like.
Yeah.
And so that was me. Like, if you looked at my first year of a poster a day, like there was a phase where I went through of like adding fish fins on people's heads, right?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and it was just a random idea that came to mind one day when I was in bed, you know? And I stuck with it for like a few months, you know, a few weeks, few months. And I got tired of it and I moved to something else, you know? But now I can always go back to that style with my eyes closed if I need to.
Right.
But all that to say, like, I tried different things, being inspired by different artists and different collage artists. And even with the fish fins, it was just the idea of like betta fishes are so beautiful. It's like Black people are beautiful. Is there a way to kind of convey that message through that? And then, yeah, and even the whole graphic thing, it was honestly an accident.
What do you mean?
I had a workshop in Marfa, Texas with Sony to teach, this was during my Adobe residency, to teach how to merge photography and graphic design together, which was what my Adobe residency was all about. So flew to Marfa, Texas, and I was about to go to bed. My friend was like, yo, you want to play Switch? And I was like, sure. So we're playing Super Smash Brothers, and my workshop was like at 10:30 a.m. the next day. And I was like, oh, shoot, I don't really know what I'm going to teach. Because I was like, I was still in this phase of photo manipulation, right? So it wasn't fully graphic design.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, is there a way that I can merge design and photography together, like for real, for real? Because I think what I've been doing, it's been cool, but it hasn't really been fully like touching on the graphic design aspect.
Okay.
It's been touching more on like the photo manipulation, photorealism type of thing. And so I was like, okay, well, graphic design, if I break it down, it's just shapes, colors, textures, composition. I was like, okay, well, I can't draw, so I'm just going to use shapes. So I was like, okay, I have this portrait here. Let me just draw some shapes around him. Hair, earrings, all of this stuff. And it's like 4:30 a.m. And I'm like, oh, shoot, this is dope. Okay, I'm going to teach this for my workshop. Literally. And that's literally poster number 14 for a year 2. And you will see, like, if you go to my website, you will see poster number 14. And after that, everything has been shapes, right? And now I'm at this point of like, okay, shapes is cool, but what if I learn 3D and I can make some 3D assets and bring that into 2D? And so it's like I'm evolving and I'm learning. But now I know that if I ever need to go back into the style of the betta fishes, I can do that easily. If I ever need to go into the style of shapes, I can do that easily. If I ever need to go into the style of 3D, hopefully in 5 years, I'll be able to go back to that easily.
Yeah. I feel like people forget that you can try something and it not work out.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
And that's okay.
And even in trying something and it not working out, you're still learning something.
Yeah. There's something that I even learned in college. There's like L is for learn, right? You know, in Texas we say, oh, they took a L, you know, like they took a loss, failure. But then it's like L is for learn. So I started to like shift my mind, like, did I really fail, or did I just learn what I didn't like?
Yeah.
Right.
Or learned how not to do that.
Yeah, how not to do that, or what I did like.
Yeah.
So that was kind of my mindset.
So when you're going into a project and you're trying to figure out how to approach the project, are there things that you just automatically do now, like questions you automatically ask yourself about a project, or are you just going in blind, experimenting?
Both, actually. And I realized I'm kind of more successful when I go in blind.
Oh.
Right? I just go on Adobe Stock and look through images, and once an image speaks to me, I'm like, I like this pose. I like the facial expression here. I wonder what I could do. Take it back into Photoshop and then start experimenting. But of course, like, I do have like workflow systems of like, okay, I find the image. If I like it, I'll save it. If I have time, I'll just start working on it right away. And then, of course, like, I take them out of the background first. And then I start to analyze what I'm looking at. And I'm like, okay, I can probably add this shape here, or add earrings here, or maybe take their head out of their body. You know, I know that sounds weird, but it's like, it's a cool style that I started doing. And I'm like, maybe I should just do a whole series on it for like the next month. But I want to do it of like people that I know, and do a series and do a exhibition, call it Faces or something. I don't know. Even with that style, I've really been able to pay more attention to like people's facial structures and know like where to put things, where not to put things, how they should be posed and things like that. And I really like it because I'm now using like that experience that I learned in photography in design.
I also feel like with your style, like even right now as you're talking through things, you keep saying it in terms of, oh, I want to try this for a little while and then see what I can make, and then try it. And but you're trying it for a while. Like you're like, oh, I want to try and make a poster a day with just faces for a month. Right. And I think a lot of people forget about this too. Like when you're trying to design and build your own style, the point is to make a lot of stuff. Yeah. Like all the time. Exactly. And because you're making so much stuff, it's kind of like, there's an interview with Ira Glass. I reference this a lot. Sorry for the people that already watch me because y'all know I reference this a lot. But I reference this interview with Ira Glass a lot where he says, like, it's called The Gap.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like,
I've heard of that.
Yes.
Yeah. Go ahead. I want to make sure it's the same thing.
I'm paraphrasing, but the gap is when you're first starting out and you're trying to make things, you're trying to produce art or whatever it is, writing, whatever it is, and you can tell that what you're making isn't very good, like it's not good at all.
Yeah.
And you can tell that because you have good taste.
Right.
But you need to get your skills to get to the level of your taste, and that's that gap. And so the way you close the gap is by making things all the time, over and over. That's why, like, on YouTube, for example, Veda is a thing. Vlog every day in April. It forces you to put some kind of video out every day for a month.
Wow.
And, like, work on your creativity and making video that way. So, yeah, I know a big thing for me is, like, whenever I feel in a rut, it's just, like, borderline force it. Hey everyone, I hope you're enjoying the first episode of the podcast. If you are watching it on YouTube, go ahead and like the video and also consider engaging in the comments below because that really helps with the algorithm and all sorts of things. If you're listening to us on your favorite podcast platform, please rate us there because that will really help as well, preferably 5 stars, or just some really good constructive criticism and feedback. That is always welcome as well. Finally, if the spirit moves you, join the Patreon, patreon.com/Hallease. There you'll get early access to these podcast episodes, as well as a variety of other content that is either exclusive or early access. Check it out. And that's it. Back to the podcast.
The example you gave about the gap, that's literally me right now. But it's worse because I'm at a space where I know what is good. I can create what is good, but not using this tool.
Yeah.
So I kind of have to start over. But it's also cool because I know where I need to get to.
Okay.
And I have the ideas already. So now it's just like, I think the frustrating part is like finding videos that show me how to do that stuff. But there are not a lot of them out there because I'm trying to do stuff that probably has not been done before.
Oh man.
You know?
Or it's like, so it's layers of complexity
Yeah.
that haven't been represented before.
Yeah. And I've been talking to people about it where it's like, some creatives get to a point where they're so good at their craft that if they have to start to learn something new, it's almost discouraging. Because you're like, well, why am I doing this? I'm already good here. Let me just stay here. And that was me this is my 4th time trying Cinema 4D.
Oh, damn.
I quit 3 times after a month. But this time I paid for the services. I paid for some of the materials. I paid a $500 course for a class. So I'm really into it now, but I'm hoping I can stick with it. But this is the longest I've been in it.
Yeah.
And this is probably the longest I've been a little bit more comfortable in there. But again, I see what I want to make and I just have to figure out how to get there.
Yeah, that was going to be one of my next questions because I know a lot of people talk about wanting to find their voice. Something I would think is a struggle for you, maybe, and maybe I'm wrong, is that I feel like your style is so iconic and so very easily. It's almost like Picasso. If I'm traveling.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I don't know if I'm up there with him, but I'll take it.
But if you're traveling and you go to a museum and you can see a painting and you can be you don't even have to go look at the card.
Yeah.
You just that's a Picasso.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I feel like you have a very, very iconic, unique style like that. Where it's I don't even have to check. I know that's that's
you.
a Temi piece.
Yeah.
But I feel like the struggle with that, especially when you're a working artist like this and you're getting bigger clients. I know you did the Oscars recently. That was crazy.
That was crazy.
Do you struggle then with this, not necessarily fear of trying to do something new, but being almost allowed to do something different? You know what I mean? Yeah,
no, that is a real thing because that was one thing I was talking to my friend about. I was like, man, if I end up just forgetting 2D and just go straight into 3D, it's going to be different. I don't know if I'm going to get the same type of gigs, right?
Yeah.
But I think the cool thing is with my style, I mess a lot with patterns and colors and composition. So even if I move to 3D, I'm taking those things along with me.
Yeah.
But I have to look at it from a standpoint of I'm adding something to my style. I'm not changing my style, if that makes sense. I'm adding a new weapon, right?
Okay.
And so now it's just okay, how can I use this weapon in a way that complements the other things that I have? you know. So that's kind of like my mindset, because I was scared to try new things because I'm like, oh, but it wasn't because of likes or followers, right?
Right.
I'm past that. Likes don't pay bills, followers don't pay bills, you know. But I turned off the like counter on Instagram for my mental health as well.
Really?
Yeah, there's a thing now you can.
Oh yeah, I did that. Well,
Yeah.
I still see it.
I can see mine, yeah, which is like weird, like because you can see yours, but you can't see others.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to like, is there a
really
way
not.
to just not see mine when I
Yeah.
post, you know? But I get it, you know, they need to be able to measure metrics and stuff like that.
Yeah. I was going to say, are there things you're doing now to try to like protect how you create the art you create? Like, are there things, because I know for me, something I always tell people as well, if they're trying to find their voice, is like consume a lot of stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
So like my Instagram, if you actually looked at what I'm following on Instagram, yeah, it's like funny people and celebrities and all that. But there's a lot of artists in mediums that like I don't work in at all. You know, like there's a lot of like super crazy abstract photographers in my Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
I just started following this dude. If I find his thing, I'll put it on the screen. But I just started following this dude that takes portraits of abandoned houses across the country. And it's like just seeing the story of like an abandoned house and like what's in there. And so that gets me thinking about like, oh, okay, set design and like all this kind of stuff.
Right.
Like I'm just consuming a lot of things. The internet makes it very easy, thankfully, to consume, if you're an artist, to consume art. You don't have to go pay to go to a museum.
Yeah.
But are there things that like you do?
I think for me, I watch shows. I've actually started like focusing on finding different artists. Like I just love the way people use different tools to make amazing things, and I'm always like just curious of like how they came up with those ideas.
Yeah.
But yeah, like on my Instagram feed, like you see fashion, you see hairstyles, you see photography, you see sculptures, you know what I'm saying? And you see people drawing and stuff like that. And I'm just like really intrigued because I just want to continue to make things that make people be like, what the heck? Like, I want to make things that make you stop scrolling, you know?
Ooh.
That just makes you like, what am I looking at here? Like, why is this grabbing my attention? You know? And one thing I'm doing right now to kind of like protect my space is whenever I make something now, I'm not posting for like the next 2 weeks.
Oh,
right? Because
interesting.
before I used to like, I used to make it. I'm like, man, I can't wait for the world to see this. And I'm like, but now I'm kind of in this space of like, I think I was doing it back then because I wanted that high.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, it's okay to keep some things to yourself.
Yeah.
Like today, I posted a poster today, and I can send it to you after this. But I posted it today, but I made it like almost a month and a half ago, right? And it was like, I was like, this feels good. You know, I want to get to a space where if I post on Instagram, I kind of want the people to understand that they are lucky that I am being gracious enough for them to see it, right?
Dang. Okay.
Versus the way people do it right now is like, I need to post something so my followers can see it. If not, they're not gonna remember me anymore.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm done serving.
Yeah.
Trying to make people happy.
Yeah.
You know, like, so for me, it's like, I'll make something, sit on it for a few days, but my wife and I are the only people in the world in that moment that have seen that work.
Yeah.
Like, it makes it so much more special, you know? And so whenever it's time to like release it and let the world see it, I'm like, okay, here we go. Enjoy. And if it doesn't do well with likes, that's fine.
Well, it's like, it's also, the joy is intrinsic rather than external. Like, I'm making the art because I love to make art.
Exactly.
And it feels good to do this. If you glean anything from it, great.
Right.
But it doesn't matter if you do or not.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's like all of the passion projects that I've done have brought all the work and success that I've seen right now. And when I did them, I wasn't thinking about trying to be successful. I was just like, oh, I want to try something new. I like this.
Yeah.
You know, and then brands are like, hey, we saw you do this. Can you do this for us? And I'm like, sure. And it's almost like I'm in a space now where I'm getting paid to do things that I did for fun.
Yeah. Which is the best place to be. I know for me, like, a lot of times with my YouTube channel, like, always took it seriously, I suppose.
Right.
But for me, it really was a space to try different things because I was working full time at a video agency, and you know they're making videos that need to look a very specific way for the brand or whatever the thing is for like big tech. So for me, having a YouTube channel, touching a camera, experimenting, like, oh man, what if I shoot a vlog where I don't say anything? You know, just like something else to get my hands on, experiment. And then the people coming, like, thank you for coming, happy you're here. But the people coming and subscribing and all that kind of stuff, it was like, oh, cool.
Yeah, right? Welcome to the space.
Hi.
I didn't expect you here.
Yeah, and it does I get what you mean, because it does become a little hard because then you're starting to try to cater
to them and their needs.
Which is not a bad thing.
Right.
Because you're happy they're there.
But when they become a priority and you don't get to enjoy anymore, and now if you're like recording or recreating, you're thinking of like, what would they like? What did well on my Instagram feed?
Yeah.
What did well on my YouTube videos?
Yeah.
How can I continue to do that? And it's not
you don't get rewarded for trying something new.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you want to get to a space where, and I understand like with YouTube, like there's monetary stuff with that. So there's that pressure. Yeah. I realized for myself, I ended up being a slave to my followers, and it wasn't a good space, you know, because I was catering to them and whatever they wanted, I would make, you know, but now I'm in a space where I've realized that this is a space that I've created. I've gained their trust, and they understand that this is who Temi is, and this is what Temi is going to deliver. And if they don't like it, I have told them over and over again, you can hit the unfollow button. It wasn't like you were paying my bills anyways. You know, and not to be rude, but not to be rude, but it's just like we lose sleep over people that are not even paying our bills.
Yes, you're not wrong. It's just like, ooh.
You know, I don't know. It just hit me like, who am I living for? Who am I doing all of this for?
Yeah.
And it's like, I think probably like 2% of my followers are the ones that are putting food on our table.
Dang, that's real.
Right? So it's like, okay, the remaining 98 double tap or share my work with other people, which I'm grateful for. But it just gets to a point where you kind of just have to like own your narrative, own your story. Don't do this for others. Do it for yourself. Anything I post on my Instagram is something that I was proud of before I shared it. So it doesn't matter what the outcome is. I've had some posts that got like 200 likes, you know, and I'm like, okay. Well, if it had 1,000, it still would not mean that it was more valuable. Yeah. Right?
Something I was going to talk to you about, too, is, like, how much time do you spend on, like, one image?
It depends. I sometimes, I'll probably say a minimum of, like, 2-3 hours.
Okay. Yeah.
And then maybe a max of, like, 8 to 10, you know?
So that's an entire work day.
Yeah. You
potentially spend an entire work day on one image.
Hey, that's why when clients come and they're like, hey, we need 10 illustrations. I'm like, okay, well, I need 15 days.
Yeah.
You know, don't come to me wanting 10 things and I only have like 5 days.
Yeah.
I can do it. I'll give you a rush fee. Are you willing to pay that? Right? And I've had some clients do that.
Yeah.
And they were fine with it. I just didn't sleep. Literally, I did not sleep. But yeah, I think there's sometimes where it's been like under an hour. I've seen some people do a post straight day and they're like, I'm gonna time myself for an hour, and I'm like, nah. Sometimes some things will take longer, some things will not. Some things require me to like go into a 3D program and do research and figure out how to make something, and some don't. Like my shape stuff, I think those will probably take me like, I think I had a workshop. It was 3 hours and I finished it in like an hour and a half, which was cool. I was like, okay, I am done, you know? But yeah, I think the hardest part is the color for me, which people would think like, oh, you're so great with color. I'm like, man, if y'all knew, sometimes I would just be stuck for like an hour and a half, just moving colors around.
Yeah.
Until I get to a space where I like it.
Dang.
Yeah.
What would you say if you had to give people advice, like younger designers, they're just getting going in their career
Yeah.
and they're thinking about going freelance? These are like audience questions.
Mm-hmm.
I pulled, so y'all know, on Instagram. I asked y'all if you had questions. Also in the community tab on YouTube, I asked you if you had questions. We're going to do some of those questions now.
Cool.
All right. So, advice for people who want to be artists but don't have financial resources.
Financial resources as in?
I'm not sure. Someone who wants to be an artist but don't have financial resources. Do you want to answer? I have an answer, but
Yeah, you can go ahead and I can...
you can meditate on it.
Yeah.
My thing would be that I don't know if all resources need to be financial, first of all. And depending on what kind of artist you are, you can do a lot with your phone. And there's a lot of apps that are for free. Like the big thing, it's hard for me to like get into a space of that, like, what is it? A space where you feel like you don't have a lot to work with. Because like I remember when editing software was like $2,500. I was 19, and now you can like literally download an app on your phone and edit a video. It's amazing. So I don't know. It's hard for me to think of like not having. What does that even mean?
Right.
When you can go to like a low end store and get a really cheap $50 camera or something like that. You know, like a point and shoot.
Yeah.
Or something like that, and start doing something.
Yeah,
the library exists, and you can like,
and you can
go edit your photos there. You know, like
I think it also depends like where you live in the world, right? But I've seen some kids from where I'm from in Nigeria who didn't have a lot, and they were still able to make something.
Yeah,
you know, like there's sand house. I've seen some people take a stick and start learning to draw on the sand. You know what I'm saying? And then it ended into a career. You know, so. I think it's all about like using what you have, like where you're at. I think a lot of us think like, oh, I gotta have money to get to this point, and sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. You know, like if you give someone who has been drawing on paper for 15 years and you give someone an iPad who has been drawing for like a year, you're gonna see a big difference.
Yeah.
But then give that person that been drawing 15 years an iPad, now their skill is just elevated. Right? Yeah. And so it's really all about like using what you have where you're at until you're able to get to a space where you can afford what you need. Yeah.
I think, and also to piggyback on that, tools are just that. They're tools.
Yep.
And I'm not going to sit here and say that gear doesn't matter because you see this setup right now. It helps. It's ridiculous.
It helps.
But I will say that I have upgraded my gear slowly as I've slowly gotten more financial stability. So like, for the longest time on my YouTube channel, I was filming with the little Sony, like, I think A5000s or what they are called now. And now if you go to try to go buy one, I think you can't even buy one anymore.
Yeah.
Like they're that cheap now, considered that cheap. But I was filming those things like with videos that ended up getting me work from YouTube. I was filming with those. And I just like did as much as I could with them and then was slowly saving up money until I finally was able to afford renting an A6500,
right,
which is a nicer camera,
right,
and then finally I was able to save up enough to buy an A6500, and like you keep
going up, but you have to be smart. Some people like they get their first check and they just blow it all,
and it's like no,
no, you have to invest back into your business or what you do and be able to grow. Like my first camera was a Nikon D3100, then got to a point where I moved to a D7000, I believe, and then after that made some more money, got the Canon 6D. After that got the Sony A7, made more money, got the Sony A7 Mark III, made more money, got the A7R Mark III, made more money, got the Sony A1. You know, but this is in the span of 10 years.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
which people don't always understand. Like it takes time.
It all takes time, and it all builds on top of each other. It's not going to happen overnight, especially when it comes to like financial resources and gear. I didn't do YouTube full time. I still technically don't do YouTube full time. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I don't do YouTube full time. So, and I've been in this for I don't even know how long. I've been making videos to some capacity since I was 17.
Wow.
And like getting paid for it. I've been making videos and getting paid for it in some way.
Wow.
Sometimes it wasn't monetary, sometimes there's other ways, resources or something like that. Doing it since I was 17. I'm 30 now.
Dang. Yeah.
It takes a long time.
It takes a long time.
A big thank you to Temi for chatting with me on the podcast. I hope this was helpful to you in some way. If you want to see more of Temi's work, hit him up on Instagram at temi.coker. Again, I'm Hallease. This is the Trying to Be Somebody podcast, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.